Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it might be for where you are in the world. Welcome to Pixel Chatter number 34. Wow, Pixel Chatter 34. Just tried something that the computer didn't like. You're wondering why I didn't start just on time there. I was sitting here ready to go. Been testing everything for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, things didn't go to plan. Here we go. All right, how you going? We are live, ready for episode number 34. Just getting things right here. So, for those of you that know, a bit of an update on the technology front. Been having all sorts of problems with programs and computers crashing during the live stream, and tried a lot of different things and seemed to get nowhere in fixing it. However, what I've been using, and I'll show you, to connect my second monitor is this here. Now, for those of you that use Apple uses this weird thing called Thunderbolt, which looks something like that. Don't know how well that's picking that up. There we go. It's out of focus, but anyway, you get the picture. And then it goes to a HDMI, right? And that's how I was connecting my second monitor. And apparently, the operating system has a problem with that. So I had to buy another cable, which goes from Thunderbolt to DVI. Now, up until 3 minutes ago, it all seemed to be working fine. Because I do like a test live broadcast, if you like. In the background, you can stream to YouTube and you can have it as a preview so I can see what's going on without making it live. And then I tried to plug in my iPad to use for the chat, and it just crashed. So I upset everything. So I'm hoping we don't have any crashes during today. Let's see who's in the chat box. So the chat box now over here. So it's a bit like a game of tennis. You're going to watch me looking at the camera, at the screen, at the chat box. Alrighty, so we've got Handy Parts in there. He was first. Good to see you, Handy Parts. John, who normally works on weekends, but got this one off. So first time watching live. Welcome. Good to see you here. Gianni, how you going? Sam Allen, g'day. Steve Algie. Just got back from a sunrise shoot in South Newcastle Beach. Very dramatic, that's good. I haven't been out for a sunrise shoot for yonks. I haven't been out for a shoot for yonks. I need to get back out there. Rick from Brooklyn. Ren, g'day. Barracuda, g'day. Rick, g'day. Everyone's jumping in. That's cool. All right. And everything seems to be working well now. So, look, we'll see how the stream goes today. And hopefully this new cable fixes the problem. I have got the iPad here, which is my second monitor backup. But I've disconnected it because as soon as I connected it, it just crashed. And I don't know what it is with the Apple operating system and external monitors, but it certainly doesn't like it. So there you go. G'day, Brian. All right, we have got a jam-packed show today. Plenty going on for episode number 34. We've got the VIP challenge winner and runner-up to announce. Last week's challenge was putting people into your photo. So it was interesting to see how people interpreted that and what we ended up with, which was cool. So we've got a couple of people to announce the winner and the runner-up. The viewers kit, I don't have a viewers kit for this week, but I'm going to show you one that I did for Shot Kit some time ago to give you an idea of what you could be doing and shoot me in some photos. We're going to talk about, rather than Lightroom tips, Lightroom updates, because if you didn't notice, last week, Lightroom did a whole bunch of updates, and it's across every Lightroom product, and they're pretty cool. So we're going to have a quick look at those updates and see how that affects you, if you're a Lightroom user, which most people are. And then we've got some image critiques to do. So Tex and Kathy from Better Pictures sent us a photo that we're going to critique, and so did Steve Algie. And if you do want your images to be critiqued on the show, then you've got to send them to ben@on3legs.com. It's down below in the description of the video. Just click on the link and send me 3 images. That's 3 images try and get them at least 3,000 pixels on the longest edge, and give me all the EXIF information. So do your best to include as much as you can. Post-process them, do your best, and then we'll critique them on the show. And as I always say, just because I make some suggestions or make some changes doesn't mean that's the correct way of doing it. It's just the way that I would have processed them. And hopefully it gives you some ideas and everybody else some ideas about what's possible. And of course, we're enjoying a cup of Pixel Chatter coffee. All right. So hopefully the stream is working well for everybody. Let me know if at any point you can't hear anything or see anything, because I've got a totally rewired setup to try and make this work more effectively. So let's hope it all works well. Okay, so let's get first of all stuck into a quick one. Now, interesting, for those of you that don't know, I'm off to Tasmania in a couple of weeks, and the reason I'm there is I'm running a photography workshop there, or 2 photography workshops with people for 5 days at a time. So we're doing a 5-day workshop, we'll have a night off, and then we're doing a 5-day workshop. And we're heading to a place called Cradle Mountain. Now, if you don't know much about Australia, Tasmania is the little island at the bottom. Beautiful place. It's like photography mecca. There's just, so many great places to go there for landscape photographers in particular. But it's just a beautiful place to go and visit. So we're going to be heading down there. During that time, there won't be any Pixel Chatter. I'll try and live stream. I don't know what the connections are going to be like from Tassie. I will be also vlogging a little bit as well. Putting together a video about going on a photography tour, because that'll be interesting. And also, there'll be some in the participants, there's quite a few on 3 legs, followers and VIPs coming along. Now, I'm just going to share my screen with you. Let's pop over to that. All right, so you can see what I'm talking about. So I've partnered up with a fellow called Michael Stedick. Now, Michael Stedick is a wildlife photographer, and he runs tours all over the world. And if you come to his website, which is Wild Nature Photo Expeditions, you'll see he has international tours and Australian tours. So if you can't make this one, go on another one. I won't be there, but he's amazing tours anyway, and he goes all over the place. Like if you look at the international tours, you can see the Antarctic, Africa wildlife, the Arctic, all sorts of cool stuff. But we are going to be going to Tassie. Now, the whole idea was we were going to go there to try and photograph these incredible autumn colour changes of a thing called the Nothofagus gunny. Now, the Nothofagus gunny, or you might have heard turning of the fagus, is this deciduous beech tree that changes colour in autumn. It has already started to turn, to my horror, which means that we may not get that when we get there, but the whole of Cradle Mountain is changing colour today or yesterday. I saw another photographer that I'm connected with on Facebook. He put a video up saying it was there, so we may not get that, but don't stress, because we still have a lot of other amazing stuff to shoot. We're going to be shooting sunrise, sunset at Cradle Mountain. We are going to be going deep into the rainforest along the trails. Now, the trails are really well formed wooden boardwalks throughout most of the national parks. They're really easy to walk along, and we are going to be doing macro photography and all sorts of stuff, so it's going to be pretty exciting. The other thing that could happen, we don't want to guarantee it, is an Aurora. So you can see here on the right, this is an Aurora Australis on the back of Cradle Mountain, and that'll be pretty exciting. I have an app on my phone that notifies me if that's likely, and I'll have that with me, and I'll be keeping a good eye on it. And we're going to be staying pretty close to Cradle Mountain. We're going to be staying at a resort nearby, so if that is the case, we'll be able to duck down there after dinner and do some photography. But as you can see, there's a Tassie devil, so lots of wildlife as well. So macro lens, zoom lens, landscape lens, all very, very important. There's a bit of fungi, some more wildlife. There's Michael. There's myself. When I was over there shooting the Nothofagus funny some time ago. But lots of cool stuff to shoot. So we only have 3 places left. We had a couple of people pull out. They were full, but we've had people pull out for different reasons. But we now have 1 place available in the first week, which starts on the 2nd of May, and 2 places starting on the 7th of May. You basically just have to get yourself in a Launceston, a Tassie, and everything else is included. Come and hang out with us, and we'll take some photos, which is cool. All right, now somebody is asking me, what app do I use for tracking auroras? All right, let me find that on my phone here, because it is a very cool app, and it is called, where did I put it? Who's got so many apps that it's hard? It's not in my photography folder. It must be in my weather folder, which is strange. So it's just called Aurora, and it checks what's called the KP index. So here it is here. I don't know how well you can see that. It is telling me the KP index in Hobart right now is 1, and it's telling me that the likelihood of an aurora at in Hobart or in Tassie is 0%. Now it does a couple of things. It checks cloud, but you can also go to an aurora map. Now if you have a look here, there we go. That below, you can see where I am on Australia. See the big blue dot? That's me. That's in Sydney. You see below that, that's actually showing you how close the aurora is visibility-wise to us. So you can see it's a long way down south of Australia. So for me to be able to shoot that would be impossible because we won't see it. So it's a very cool app. The thing that I have done with it is I've set up notifications. So inside the app, you can say when it's likely that we'll get an aurora. So you need the KP index to be up quite high, like 6 or 7. And then you need the cloud cover to be low. And so that's the combination, otherwise you're not going to see it. So this app tells you when you're likely to see it. So not just the KP index, but it checks cloud cover and lets you know when the likelihood is high. So if you're interested in shooting the aurora and you're in southern Australia somewhere, put that app on your phone and check it out. All right. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Let me just go through some comments here. Sam's heading to Cradle Murray. Yeah, Vegas is going off early. And some snow, yeah. So what I'm predicting for our tour is that we will have snow-capped mountains, which will be amazing. Can't wait. G'day, Greg. Sam Allen, yeah, it's awesome all time. George, g'day, George. Rick says, I think a video of what goes on those trips would be fantastic. It's going to happen. The site you will use in Hobart is called Aurora-service. d.net. Okay, I'll see if I can bring that up, eh? That's a website, is it, Sam? Let's have a look. Let's have a quick look. Aurora, Aurora-service. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so as you can see, there's the hourly aurora forecast, and that green glow down the bottom there is where the aurora would be visible. You can see right now the aurora predicted to be is KP1, which is nowhere near high enough, and then it gives you this 3-day forecast. Yeah, so all sorts of information about aurora activity. That's a cool website. Yeah. So who knows where the app gets its data from, but certainly the app seems to be pretty accurate as well. So I've been using the app, and in fact, when I was over there and I shot the aurora last time, we were using an app to track the aurora when we were there. Now I can just hear my fans going crazy on the computer, which is what normally happens before it crashes. So just a warning, just in case. We'll see if we get through it unscathed. It's good to have a cup of coffee. Who else is having a cup of coffee? Because some of you might actually be late at night somewhere and you're not drinking coffee, you're drinking a scotch or something much more appropriate for the time of day. No, the fans have settled down again. That's cool. I think we've finally fixed the graphics issue, which is good. By just changing a cable, can you believe it? One cable. I tried everything else. One cable. All right. So, the VIP challenge. Let's talk about the VIP challenge and our winners for that. So we had, once again, lots of entries. Now, if you want to be a part of the VIP challenge, the way to do that is to become a VIP. And you become a VIP by jumping onto patreon.com/on3legs. It's a way for you to support the On3Legs channel. For a couple of bucks a month, you become a VIP, and it gives you access to our private online group, which is pretty active. Lots of stuff goes on in there. And VIP hangouts, which are, irregular but fun, nevertheless, where we just have hangouts where we jump online and chat about something photography related. And you also get to participate in the VIP challenge, which is a weekly challenge that I set with a theme. Everyone goes out and shoots for that week in that theme, and then the boss judges the images at the end of the week and picks a winner and an honourable mention, like a runner-up. And so if you want to be a part of that, that's how you be involved. And of course, we're very grateful to all the VIPs for supporting the channel, because that's awesome. We really love that, and makes it all happen. It makes it affordable to be able to do things like $800 live streaming software. All right, so let's get stuck straight into the winner and the runner-up. If I show you, we had a lot of... Oh, what happened to my photo? Oh, that's right, I had to restart, so I've lost my album. Let's quickly jump into the albums. Where's the albums gone? No, I'm in the wrong page. Here we go. Photos, albums. Forgot to get back in there because I had to quickly restart before I started and I lost everything. All right, here we go. So we'll share the screen once again. Let's jump over there. So as you can see, a whole bunch of photos, and the challenge, as I said, was the people. And some great photos coming in, so people trying different things. Here's Wendy's one, a couple of people at the beach. One from Brian. It was a bit hard to spot the people. I was looking for people, but I saw there's definitely someone here. Ghosted out. Looks like someone down here. So we did find some people. Awesome. Another one from Brian. A few more people, which was awesome. One here from Stephen Cast. He says, a pastel morning. Beautiful. Yeah, pastel colours. Another one from Brian there. Lovely colours on the horizon there. One here from Stephen, somebody out kayaking. Another one from Stephen, people on the beach. And then Ren, the car show. Love that old caravan, That's pretty cool. Very cool. So a few there from the car show. Some nice cars. I love that tea bucket. Looks awesome. Jill was at the Commonwealth Games, which is pretty cool. Shot of some people playing hockey. The waiting room. I don't know where Chance was. Must have been the doctors or something in the waiting room. All right. So there's all the entries from this week's challenge. And the runner-up is going to go to the honourable mention. Goes to Jill Heath for her Commonwealth Games shot. Well done, Jill. Great shot. Action shot of a couple of people. We never said it had to be landscape. We just said it had to include people. So you done well there, Jill. Good job. And the winner of the VIP challenge for the week goes to Stephen Cast. Well done, Stephen. For his shot of this pastely morning with a couple of people walking down the beach, the reflections of the people in the sand. Really nice shot. So well done, guys. And well done to all of you that put an entry in, because I think that's what it's all about, is getting out there with your camera and trying different things. And being, I'm sure for some of you, the different challenges are pushing you and challenging you, which is what it's all about. So well done for doing that. All right. So if you want to get to those VIP challenges, that's the way you do it. Just become a VIP. It's pretty simple. All right. Andrew, evening. Barracuda coffee, the nectar of the gods at this time of day. Yes, it is. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's have a look at... I just wanted to share this with you. The viewer's kit. Now, like I said, I don't have a viewer's kit this week. I don't know why my titles are flashing. Are they flashing for you? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. Anyway, we'll move through it. My preview screen, the title is flashing, so I'll be interested to hear if it is for you or not. Let me know. But this is my my shot kit, if you like, from some time ago, and it actually hasn't changed very much at all. You can see in this kit here, I've got my Really Right Stuff tripod, which I still use, love it. I've got a Nikon D800, of course that's been updated to a D810 now. I've got a 14 to 24mm lens there, and you can on the camera you can see the ring around it, and the ring around it is for the Lee filter kit. The ball head on the tripod, Rick, that is a BH55, which is from Really Right Stuff. And I've got to say that when I bought these, what they say, buy once, cry once. That's what happens with Really Right Stuff. I mean, the prices are ridiculous when you first look at them. And I think it was about $900 US for the tripod and about $500 US for the ball head. But I've had this thing now for so long. I've taken it to so many places. It has been in salt, sand, mud, thrown around, dropped on rocks. The thing has just continued to perform flawlessly. And, I've had a lot of tripods before this that didn't take long for me to go, well, oh God, what am I going to do now? There's sand in the legs or there's sand in the ball head. And it just, they just didn't have the construction. I don't know why, but this has been amazing. So I don't get paid anything. I'm not endorsing. I'm not affiliated with Really Right Stuff. But if you're seriously into landscape photography, you want sharp images, get a good tripod, and this is the one that I use. You can see also there, so that the other lenses that are there, there's a Sigma 105 or 100mm, I think it was 105mm. I can't remember now. My macro lens that I love. I think it's 100mm. And then the 70 to 200, the 24 to 70, and then a couple of other lenses there. In my kit these days, I usually take, if it depends, and I'm actually going to do a packing of my kit for Tassie video, so I'll get that happening. But pretty much I have a couple of non-negotiables, the 14 to 24, non-negotiable, and my 45mm tilt shift, which is not in this picture. Once again, I'm using that for panos these days. It's a non-negotiable. Then I start adding things on depending on where I go. For Tassie, I'll be taking a macro lens. I'll be hopefully then also be able to fit in the zoom lens. We're going to be talking a little bit about weight as well as I pack my gear for Tassie, because I noticed that the airlines are starting to get a little bit more strict on weight going on board, and photographers are starting to get a little bit nervous. So we're going to talk a bit about that as well and how we overcome that. And then you can see my flash. Now, someone asked me, am I still happy with the D810? Yeah, really happy. I have toyed with the idea of going to the 850. But when I look at the prices, I just go, why? Why would I bother when I've got the D810? The D810 is an amazing camera. I've got the D800 still as a backup. It's still performing well. So, there's this FOMO disease, which is fear of missing out. Has anybody got that? Then that's the disease that hits everybody from time to time and has made me think about it. But yeah, I'm not using it. Now you can see that on the left there, that little camera is the Fuji X-E1. I've still got that camera. Don't use it very often, but it's a great camera. And I have the XT1, which is my main Fuji body. And I haven't even been tempted to go to the XT2, because it is such a great camera. And it's easy to spend money on camera gear, or you can spend money on traveling to great locations. And I reckon a great location produces a better photo than a better camera. So spend your money traveling, keep your old camera gear, and until it dies, or it is no longer doing the job it needs to do. Now, off topic a little bit there. The reason I put this photo up there was I want you to send in a photo of your, if you can send in a photo of your shot kit so I can share it and show the world what it is you shoot with. Like I said, I'm going to do a video of my kit for Tassie that I'm packing. I'm going to try and do that in the next week. I know the vlogs have been a bit thin this year. I just have been super busy, and my goal is, now that I've got a major, couple of major things out of the way at the beginning of this year for my business, I can get back onto spending Friday mornings out shooting, and we are going to start traveling a little bit more, which is cool. Handy parts, have I done the firmware update I mentioned for the D810? No, I haven't. It's on my to-do list. Have you done it, or has anybody done it? And if you have, was there any ill effects? Interested to know, because I'm about to do it. About the image. Just bought a D810 for $1,400. Absolutely love it. Pass on the D850 and use it. Yeah, use the money for lenses. Yeah, the D810 is a great camera. I mean, if you think about my first digital camera was a Nikon D70. Go and Google the stats on that. But it was great. It was awesome, right? So I think you just got to put it into perspective. I had the D300, then I upgraded to the D700, then the D800. The D800 I upgraded to the D810 really fast, and I did that out of impulse probably more than anything. I spoke to Elia Lacardi. We were in Sydney, and we did a shoot together, and he upgraded, and I said, what's the difference between the D800 and the D810? He said the D810 is everything the D800 should have been. And I went, cool. And, it's a good camera. Is it miles better than the D800? No. But it certainly made a good duo now. I've got the 800 and the 810, so good backup. Alrighty. So Brian's still got a D70. Yeah, great camera. About the image, wasn't able to update the firmware. Well, yeah, I usually wait a bit and just see if anyone else is having problems. My camera takes great photos right now. No need for me to upgrade the firmware. It's not going to affect its ability to work. So, I tend to wait. Same with Lightroom updates. I don't tend to do the Lightroom update straight away. I wait 2 or 3 weeks and just check, because sometimes when they do these releases, they do beta testing, but it's not enough. They haven't tested it to breaking point. And my tip is just wait. Wait until somebody has tested it to breaking point. Alrighty. So let's jump into, that's a good segue. Let's jump into Lightroom and have a look at the updates. So my Lightroom tip this week is going to be all about the updates. I'll bring up, let's use some Tassie photos. Here we go. Alrighty, so this is some photos from when I was in Tassie last time. Forget about the photos, it's not about the photos. We're going to talk about the updates and what has changed. Probably the major changes. I'm just going to have some of my coffee. Now, for those of you that shoot JPEG, what happens? Let's just quickly talk about this. I'll just flip back to the camera for a second. So what happens when you shoot JPEG is your camera does some post-processing for you. And you'll notice that you have these camera settings, right? And you can shoot standard, vivid, color. You can manipulate all of the settings so your JPEG comes out in a certain way. If you shoot RAW, what you're doing is you're telling the camera to give you a file that doesn't have any adjustments, okay? And that allows you then to start making adjustments. So every camera does that slightly differently. They all have their own RAW profiles of what a RAW image looks like. Now, on your preview screen on your camera, you still see adjustments. So essentially what you see in your preview screen is like a JPEG. You don't see the RAW image in your preview screen, typically. Same when the thumbnails and things like Lightroom are enhanced, or, they're not your actual RAW image. It takes a bit for you to see them. Now, what Adobe had done is they had these color profiles that they used, and the profiles were to allow you to tell the software what type of profile you wanted to use as your starting base. So if you can imagine, you take a RAW photo in one camera, say the Nikon D810, and then you take a RAW photo in the Fuji, and then you take a RAW photo in a Canon. All of those RAW photos are going to look slightly different because of what's called the color profile. So you're always able to manipulate that in Lightroom for your starting point. And when you adjust the color profile, it doesn't adjust any sliders. Okay, so your starting point is still 0, but you can actually change the way the image looked with the profiles. So that's that. So they've made a big change with that. Let me jump in and show you what this looks like. So you can see now that you've got that background. So this is a photo that is RAW. Okay, that was shot in, let me just go to the develop module. That was shot in with a Fuji X-T1. Now what they've done now is the profiles used to be in a different place. I'm just going to get rid of anything, it's not relevant for now. So what's happened now is in this basic one at the top here, this basic part, there's a couple of new things happen. Now one here is you'll see that you've got profiles here, and you can pick a profile and it will change what's going on with your image. And you've got these now, like they're almost like presets. Now the interesting thing about these is, let me select this one, right? Artistic. So I say they're almost like presets because now that I've done that, and I can adjust the amount as well that this is applied to the photo. Okay. So I've applied this artistic preset, if you like, but have a look at all the sliders. Have a look at the tone curve. Nothing has been manipulated yet. So it's allowing me to change the base layer, if you like. And this is a pretty cool thing to do. Very cool thing to do. So it's allowing us to change the base layer of the photo. Now let me go back into my library and I'll go to a Nikon D810 file. So this is a raw file. We'll go to the develop module. And here what you'll see when I go into the profiles is I'm getting different options. And that's because this is shot with a different camera. But it allows me, let's say I pick landscape. I don't know if you saw how much more depth and color just popped in then, but it hasn't adjusted anything down here. Hasn't adjusted curves, hasn't adjusted the sliders. All it's done is changed my starting point. So this is really cool, okay? The other thing I do love about it, if you click on these little 4 boxes here, it brings them up like this, is you then do get, so these are the legacy settings. You've got your Adobe RAW, profiles, okay, artistic profiles. You've got black and white profiles now, so you can select different black and white profiles from in here. Now, unlike, as I said before, I'll just pick one. Right, I'll pick that one. Unlike when you've done that in the past with a preset, it doesn't change anything here. Because if you use a preset over here, okay, let me select a preset. Straight away, you see over here, it's adjusting the sliders. That's all it's doing. So it's like someone's gone through, made some adjustments and adjusted the sliders. By using the profiles, we're actually now getting a preset that has no slider adjustment, and it just adjusts our starting point. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty big change, and it means that you can, you know, change your starting point, so you're not affecting your sliders from the beginning, which gives you more room to play. So let's just do this one. Let's go into I'll do landscape, which gives you real nice, you know, vibrant colors, and you can see that it has not affected my starting point. So now I can start editing my image from that new starting point, and it just gives you that little bit of an edge. So that's pretty cool. Something for you to be able to do. The other thing they've done, and this is not a huge change, but one that I welcome, is they've moved dehaze up to the basic panel. So you're not looking for it down here anymore. I don't even remember where it used to be. I think it was in tone. It's maybe in here, was it in color or something? Or split? I don't even remember where it was, but it didn't make sense where it was. Now it's up here in the basic panel. So that's very cool. Alrighty, so that's sort of the Lightroom tip for the week. So go and play with that now if you've got the update, and you'll see that it makes a bit of a difference to what's going on for you. Alrighty. So who's updated to the new Lightroom and has started playing around with that? Interested to hear. So Rick said, would that diminish the need for filters? No, but I think if I jump back in there quickly, I think one of the big benefits though is that, you know, you're able to make changes. Like let's go to artistic, for example, and blend them. So let's say you like the tonality in this artistic 7. For the first time, you've been able to adjust the amount. So I can say I like that tonality, but I don't want too much of it, so I can reduce it. Or you might say I really like the tonality, so I'm going to increase it. And that becomes your starting point. It doesn't actually change your sliders. So, it gives you this ability to be able to have a little bit more scope with your adjustments, with your overall images, and make them look a bit different, which I thought was kind of cool. Great stuff. It would be handy if they move lens correction higher. Yeah, I think the thing is, if you get into the habit of a workflow where everything starts closed like that, and, for me, lens correction is something I typically do pretty quickly. Tick those, tell it that's what you want to do. And then quite often I'll go to transform, and I'll get rid of anything that looks a bit odd from tilting my lens. I'll do those first, and the reason for that is what I want to do. So I'm not sharing my screen with you. Let me just show you what I've ended up with. So I've ended up, just making those adjustments pretty quickly. So if you look on the right-hand side here, I typically keep all of these compressed, so I can quickly come through, select the profile that I want. I can then transform vertically if I have to try and make it look normal. And then I can use the crop tool to crop it. And so, I think as as post-processing gets more complex, you've got to have a workflow because there's so many different things you can adjust. So I really like to just start here, and then I go up to basic. I do the basic, then I go to tone curve. And if I'm feeling a bit lazy, I go over here to my landscape presets. I'll just grab something I go and see what's going to work best for my photo. And I've just got some presets in there. These used to be my starting points. But if I show you if you look over here, you'll see that these are affecting sliders. They're moving sliders around. Okay, so they're just presets like the Lightroom presets that I've made. And then, if you look at things like even tweaks, have a look at the curve, the tone curve change. So my tweaks are just tone curve changes that I make. Okay, same with these more tweaks presets, just changing things in the curves. So I think, it's an interesting update, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with it long term now. But I was happy to see the changes. I think they were good changes, and they're going to help us as photographers. All right. Hey, thanks, Rick. I'm not sure what that means. You must have been able to do some sort of a donation through the chat, were you? I'm not sure. I can see $2, Rick Mentor. Well, thank you. I'm not sure. I think that's super chat. I think it's super chat. I don't know how that works, by the way, but there you go. Thank you. All right, let's jump into some image critiques now, because we're going to run out of time otherwise. But good start to the show. Everything's stable as well. I'm super stoked that we're not... it looks like we've definitely fixed our problem. All right, so we've got a couple of image critiques today. Let's start with... that's interesting. Okay. Title's not working, so we're just going to skip titles. So things don't always go to plan in the On Three Legs live streaming studio. So let's go to this one here. All right. So first image here that we're going to critique is by Kathy Mudge, or Texan Kathy, or I think it's Better Photos if they're in the chat. I think it's Better Photos. As you can see, pretty cool photo. Tasmania, looks like Bay of Fires or somewhere near over there, somewhere on the east coast of Tassie, where the rocks have got these beautiful colours going on. You may be able to tell me more, but I think that's where it is. And then we've also got a photo from Stephen Algie, which is just a stunning image. And I love it. I love trees in their solidarity in water. Something about it. It's like that Wanaka tree that you see all the time from New Zealand. I'm not sure where this one was taken. Maybe If Steve's in here, he can tell us. But yeah, great shot. So there's our 2 images there. I did have some titles, but we're not going to be doing that. All right, so let's start with this one here, which is Kathy's. We'll jump into the develop module. Once again, you know, if you want to look at the profiles, color or monochrome is the only choices I get, because obviously it's not a raw, and then it gives me all the artistic. So that's that new thing that we've got there that allows us to make some changes. Now, I'll talk about this technically, then we'll talk about composition and a bit of post-processing. And we'll have a bit of a look of what we could have done better and a couple of things that I try to avoid. And then we'll jump into the second image. All right, so technically we shot at ISO 100, 18mm, f3.5, 30-second exposure. And a 30-second exposure is a great thing to do with moving water because it gives you these nice effects. Mustn't have been much wind around that morning because the clouds aren't moving. Yeah, it is the Bay of Fires. Yeah, it looks like the Bay of Fires. So technically, lowest ISO you can go. I always recommend that because that reduces the ability of, the likelihood of noise in your image. F3.5, probably not what I would have selected, but you may have to because I can see it's a 30-second exposure. Now, sometimes, let's say you don't have a remote for your camera and you want to, so you can't use bulb setting or without shaking the camera, you've got to go to the maximum allowable or possible shutter speed, which might be 30 seconds. So sometimes you've got to manipulate your settings to give you what you need in the circumstances you've got, right? So that's just how it works. For me, anytime I shoot a landscape image particularly where I've got foreground nice and close, like I have here, I want to shoot a higher aperture because what happens is, if we zoom right in, what happens is we lose our focus up here. And it's just the shallow depth of field that's doing that to you. So you've got to be sort of careful with that. But otherwise, everything else is shot as, you would shoot it. That's just how it is. And you sort of get a feel for, the exposure there is nice as well. Looking at the histogram, no lost pixels in the shadows or the highlights. So that's all good. So from a technical point of view, no issues there. From a composition point of view, straight away, there's a couple of things that, for me, I would make sure I fix. Number one, let's get this horizon straight. Okay, I'm sure for most people that as soon as they saw this image would have gone, that image is leaning. Now, a couple of things you can do to do that. That's really cool. Lightroom, if you click on the crop tool, has a little auto button here. See where it says angle? Click the auto button and Lightroom will sort it out for you. And it typically does a good job. I like to check just, sometimes it doesn't do the greatest job. And if we just do that, you can see it's used the horizon. It's done a great job. In this image, the horizon's very prevalent, so it's used that really, really well. So it's straightened that out for us. As I said before, I always go into calibration. Now, I don't know exactly what lens this was shot with, but it's shot at 18mm, so you're going to have some... so not calibration, lens correction, and do profile corrections. I don't know what lens it is, so I would be guessing here. But if I can put in something, let's just put, I've only downloaded the ones that I use. And I always tick remove chromatic aberration as well, but you can see that's just doing a slight bit of correction because it's not the right lens correction. Of course, you can always do it manually and just remove any distortion that might be there. And you're always going to get a better distortion. So let's just pretend we know what it is and we'll remove some. And we'll call that done. And sometimes when you do that, it's a good idea to go back and just do another straighten because sometimes it moves things around a little bit. The horizon straightens out more and it gets a better feel for your horizon. Now the other thing going on here for me is there's too much sky. The sky is not interesting, but we'll leave it for now because we might be able to make it interesting with our post-processing. Down here, some issues for me. See these footprints? Now, I don't know whose footprints these are. They look like shoes or boots, quite possibly your own. Be really careful when you're sussing out a photography location where you might be shooting, especially for sunrise, because you're typically the first person there, and step on the rocks. You know, if you want to check out other compositions, rather than ruining the sand, step on the rocks. Now we can remove this with a bit of, you know, Photoshop or Lightroom mucking around, but why cause yourself more work than you need to? So, you know, when you're checking out the location, step on the rocks, don't put your footprints in the sand, and it'll give you more options. And that's one of the things I always try and avoid. The other thing is this seaweed down here. I probably would have just dragged it backwards out of my shot, just to move it out, or move back further, because it actually does add something. It's like a leading line, so it's not a bad thing. So there's just a couple of things I would have fixed. The person is a little bit blurry, and that's because it's a 30-second exposure. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of blurry people unless they really add to the picture. So I'm just going to get rid of that person as easy as I can. Something like this. Let's see if we can do something like that. Bit rough, but you know, you get the picture. Looks like it needs another bit of repair. We'll just run another repair across that there like that. A bit of rock up here, isn't it? That's not going to work, is it? There we go. None of that's working anyway. We'll undo that, and we'll undo that. But you get the picture, right? We just want to repair that, so they're not there. That's a bit more distracting now. They can see that little smudge. Let's undo that repair, and we'll start again. Let's get back in here. Let's just try and do this a bit better, because I didn't do a big enough area. There we go. That'll do the trick. Bit of feathering. There we go. That's better. All right. Not perfect, but better than it was. I'm just going to move it down just a tad more. There we go. Now, to me, it wasn't adding anything. It still needs more fixing, but that's, you know, very easy to get rid of with a bit of time and effort. Now, let's just do a bit of processing. Usually in anything where you're doing a seascape, sunrise, sunset, the sky is going to be brighter than the foreground. You can use filters, which you may have used here. I think you might have used a... let's just have a look at the EXIF information. What time of day was this taken? Time of day. Okay, 5:06 p.m. So it was probably pre-sunset then, would be my guess. Maybe it's not a filter. Maybe it's dark, but it's probably a filter of some sort. But you can even out it with a graduated filter, or you can use Lightroom to help fix it up. And you know, I always like to just drag down the highlights, so you can see straight away the definition of the sky comes out when I do that. You start to get a bit more detail. You know, with the shadows, probably doesn't need a lot, just a little bit. Hold down your shift key, double click whites, double click blacks, let it sort that out for you. See those two things move for me. I'd probably drop the exposure just a tad. I think it's, yeah, and just warm it up a tad. Just get that white balance where it needs to be. And I'm still not convinced that sky needs to be in there, so at that level. So I'm going to just bring it down a bit. I'm going to crop it up a bit as well, just to remove that one footprint there. And we're going to end up with something like that. I'm going to use my spot removal tool. I'm going to get rid of this bit of seaweed down here. If I can, let's see what I can do. It's not going to do a great job, is it? Anyway, that'll do. Let's just leave it at that. Crop it up a little bit more. I'll get rid of it completely. Perfect. Now, a couple of things that are happening really good here in this composition. I love this leading line. So this coming out of the right-hand corner, this big rock here is just leading the eye right into the image, as is this rock coming in from the left. You know, it's really nicely placed. Now that I've cropped it, you can see that this rock is on this line, this rock is on this line. Horizon's right near that top line there. Probably bring it down a bit more. Turn it into more of a pano, which we can do quite easily. Something like that. Yeah, that's looking good. And so you can really start to play with things. There's something going on with the colour here. It's a bit green, so we might just, you know, and that's just quite often things like the colour profile. So, you know, just Sometimes you've got to just play around with the tint and colours just to get it so it's a bit more natural. Give it a bit more contrast there. So that's looking pretty good. I would then grab a brush and do some local adjustments with clarity, which I know you all see me do all the time, on these rocks to really enhance the leading lines. And just the foreground rocks, you know, I just really get in there and give them a good old going over with the clarity brush, something like that. Especially considering it's not in focus beyond the foreground, which, you know, it's okay, but I'd like to just adjust that like that. So let's have a look at the before and after. I'll just get rid of all the clutter around it. Here we go. So this was before and this is after. Now you can see I've still got a bit of work to do here. I've done a real bad job of getting rid of that guy, but you get the picture. Overall though, you get the feel for the image. Look at the rock colour and detail, for example. You know, you're really starting to see the rocks there. It could be a colour cast from the big stopper you use, definitely. That can happen. Sam says, I just knew you'd turn into a pano, yeah. And good hints for footprints, yeah, very important. But you can see it's sort of just bringing it into a bit more life. I've just noticed there's a seagull over here that's all blurry. So to me, I would want to get rid of that from my image. And once again, I would just use the spot removal tool if I could. It's in a fairly simple place probably to remove it. So you can see that's gone now. Yeah, just little distractions like that. Even that there, might leave that. It would be hard to remove in Lightroom. A lot of these cloning outs, sometimes you've got to use Photoshop if you want to do them really well. I mean, I can see that's not going well for me there. Remember, this is not a raw file either. So, you know, you could, with a higher res file, it's going to work better because obviously it's using the pixels. So sometimes I find the best way to do is start by, since Lightroom does weird things sometimes, doesn't it? Why has it picked that? Let's see what it's doing down there. What's it picked? It's picked something down here? No. What did it pick? What did this one pick? Oh, here. That's weird. Why has it done that? As I say, Lightroom does weird things. So let's zoom back in now. Sometimes I find it easier to do the top half like that and then do the bottom half separately like that. And you can get a better result by doing that. Still struggling. You can see a bit of chromatic aberration happening here as well, which, you know, once again is avoidable. It's getting worse this time, isn't it? But you get the picture anyway. I won't go. We're going to run out of time otherwise. But to me, that's more pleasing. Now, if I, let's say it didn't matter what I do, I couldn't remove this very well. I would rather it was in there than a bad removal. So we'll just whack it back in for now. It actually sort of works because of the distance he is away from the foreground. So to me, that's looking pretty good. I might add my gradient source, which is a top and bottom. You know, if you have a look, I don't know if you can see the preview popping up, is a top and bottom vignette. See the bottom one coming in there. I can't see the top one because it's too high, so let's bring it down. That's because I'm not cutting the pixels off when I do the crop. But typically I like to do something like that to really bring it all together. I would be tempted actually to bring another gradient down from the sky and just bring that saturation up a little bit and the dehaze a bit, because of that sky's got some nice colour in it. Watch what we'll do here. A little bit of clarity. Maybe just warm the temp up just a little bit, just to cheat a little bit. Yeah, look at that. All right. So let's do a before and after now on this one. So that's before and that's after. Can you see the difference? Just look at the difference in the sky, for example. I can see a bit of noise now entering in as well, because once again we're looking at a small JPEG, so it's a bit hard. But that gives you some ideas of what, you know, that's what I would do, something like that. I don't know what you'd all do, but to me, that sort of has a good look to it. So there you go. So thank you for sending that in, Tex and Kathy. Great shot, great location, and makes me want to go back there. Oh, I am. I'll be back in Tassie in a couple of weeks. How awesome. Alrighty, let's jump into image number 2. And this one here, top image by Steve Algie. I can tell you straight away, there's not going to be a lot of work to be done to this. I think he's really nailed it. I'd be happy with that. I'd frame that and I'd stick that on the wall. And there are times when you can get away with just putting your main subject in the middle. I would have probably had a square crop and included a little bit more above it. But it depends what you're shooting for. I am going to try something though. I've got a couple of things I want to do. And before we do that, let's look at the technical information so we can see how it was shot. Don't know where it was shot, but it's a great image. Maybe if you're there, Steve, you can tell us. So this one was shot ISO 100, once again, lowest you can go, 30mm, f10, 13 seconds. So I think, you know, from that perspective, Canon EOS M5. So a little, that's a little mirrorless camera, I think. Great shot, really like it, and I think he's done a good job. If I jump into the develop module and get my side panels back, there we go. By the way I make those side panels appear and disappear is I press Alt and Tab, or Option and Tab if you're on a Mac. That's the shortcut, and it's just a great way, because you probably all know the one where you can press L and you get the black background. Okay, but it's 3 presses to get back there. So this one you can just tap it, look at it, tap it again, and they come back. Works really good. A little on the side tip there. So here's Steve now. He says, photo was taken at Salamander Bay, Port Stephens. Okay, I've got to find this tree when I go back up there. ISO 100 f10, yep. The auto white balance Canon EOS M5. Salamander Bay, all right, didn't even know this amazing tree was up there. Is it high tide, low tide? When do you have to go and shoot this tree? Must be high tide by the looks of things. Yeah, you have to shoot me the address because I'm going back up there soon. We've been up there a fair bit lately, and I'm going back up in the winter with my camera to do some vlog recording. I'm going to go and find this tree. All right, so for me, you know what I'm like. Let's just see how it works. Sort of panoed a bit. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. Let's just check that horizon. Looks relatively straight, but I think it's slightly off. Maybe it's the lens correction. I'm not sure if you've done lens correction on this or not. Something's just not 100% right for me there. So let's just... Man, it's a great photo. Oh, great photo. I'd be super proud of this. I'd be super stoked. This one would be going on the wall for sure. Just going to drop those highlights a little bit, and let's do. I mean, there's hardly anything. I'm just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. This is an awesome photo. It doesn't need anything. I'm going to just clarity over the tree a little bit. Wow, yeah, the clarity actually is making it pop, Steve. So I don't know if you've done any of this, but that tree has just popped even more. I like that. That's a good one. I've got panoitis, I do, don't I? I do. Let's have a look at that as a before and after. I'll go into the black because I think the black will make it look good. And we'll go full screen. So all I did was applied a little bit of lens correction. So just removed the distortion. Okay, or just remember to do that. It doesn't seem like much, right? But if I show you the before and the after, can you see how that's like a bit of one of those mirrors you look into? And that's like just a little bit off. But the other thing that I did was I just applied clarity to the tree where all of this growth is happening. See this, I don't know what they call that stuff on there. But it just made it pop. But otherwise, I'm not touching anything else. Awesome picture, mate. Well done. That is a great photo. Besides my little crop there that I did of it. I hope you don't mind me doing that. Let's go back to the original, because I feel like I've gone and done something to your photo I shouldn't have. I mean, it looks great like that as well, doesn't it? This photo could be... this is one of those photos that you could do so many things to. Let's really pano it up. Let's see what happens. Even that looks great. I don't think it would matter what you do to this. It's just a really nice photo. Sometimes you just get those cracking shots. And I think the fact that you did the 13 seconds has got the water really nice as well. Like, it hasn't lost all of the detail, but it's smoothed it out. So he said, I've printed this photo at least 15 times. Well, good on you, mate. I can understand why, because that is a cracking shot. An absolute cracking shot. And you should be proud of that. Well done. Well done. And it looks like the conditions were, what it looks like overcast, is it? Or foggy, misty? Like, you've worked well with the conditions and you've made it work. So, yeah, good on you, buddy. Cracking shot. Well done. Good to see. I love seeing you guys smashing it out of the park with these photos. So, good photos for both of you. Hopefully, you take on board whatever I say. Like I said, even with that last photo, Steve's, I made a couple of changes that I felt enhanced it just that little bit. And I cropped it into a pano because I do have panoitis. I'll admit that. I love panos, love jetties. Guilty as charged, Your Honour. I'm super stoked to say that we didn't have any technical glitches today to do with the computer struggling. And isn't that amazing? How was the buffering today? Was there, because that was the other thing I changed, was the way we connected to the internet. But this cable here, for anybody that uses Mac, they don't have a great option for external monitors. They have this Thunderbolt connection. Mine's in late 2015. Pretty, it's powerful. It was a $4,500 computer, right? You'd think you'd be able to just hook up an external monitor. But this is a Thunderbolt to HDMI. And I thought that would be the best possible solution. Well, apparently, I did a lot of research online and digging. I found people having problems using Thunderbolt to HDMI and instead switching to Thunderbolt to DVI, which I did. So I had to buy a $25 cable, which this was as well, and the $25 cable fixed the problem. We've had no problems. There's been no lagging on my computer. It's been beautiful. So I think I fixed the problem. So I think the live streams, because that was really weighing me down, believe it or not, for the last few months. There was a lot of anxiety. I couldn't use the setup the way I wanted to. So I'm glad you enjoyed today and we had no problems whatsoever. All right. Good chance for you to share your social media handles. Do that. Like I said, we'll be on air, I think, next week and the week. I think next week there will be no Pixel Chatter. Is that right? Yeah. Next week there's no Pixel Chatter because I am going to be doing a course for 3 days starting on Friday morning, and it's totally not related to photography. It's related to my pilot's license. I'm doing a course to become a flight instructor, and you have to go and do a 3-day course to start the process. So I'll be at that course. There won't be any Pixel Chatter next week. The week after we will not have a Pixel Chatter either because I'll be in Tasmania, and the week after as well. So it's going to be about a month before the next Pixel Chatter. So what I'll ask you to do is shoot me in as many images as you can. I'm going to attempt some live streams from Cradle Mountain when we're on location during Pixel Chatter time. So let's see if we can make that work. I don't know what the connection is like. They tell me they put a new Telstra tower up in Cradle Mountain National Park a couple of years ago, and that you can get some decent signal out of there. Maybe Sam can tell me because he's over there whether that is going to be possible or not. Sam, if you're in the chat box, maybe let me know. But if not, I'm going to try and do some live streaming from Tassie and see if I can do something so you don't miss out for an entire month. But at this stage, we'll be back in a month, and of course, I'll have a whole bunch of footage, hopefully, from my trip to Tassie to start putting some more vlogs up as well. And we should have a great time. have a great month. Get out there, take some photos. For the VIPs, we will be continuing to do the challenges in the VIP group. So, you know, you won't be left out there. They'll still continue to happen, and we'll be able to do. Sam says it's scratchy but doable. Great. Got topics to focus on, Ben, for photos to send in. Got topics to focus on. Landscape photography. Just go and shoot whatever you like. You could always use the VIP challenge topics that we announce the winners for each week for your own challenge. Go and do it yourself if you're not in the VIP group. Yes, beautiful image, Stephen. Yeah, I'll be hitting Stephen up for the location of this tree. I've got to go and shoot this tree. And were you up there on holiday, Stephen, or do you live up that way? Because you seem to be up there a lot doing things. You must live up that way somewhere. Maybe we can catch up for a shoot and a vlog together if you're happy to be in a video. Might have to do a 2-hour show next. Yeah. Well, this one's gone over time, hasn't it? Hey, and you know what? I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I get a lot of hate messages for doing live shows. And, the majority don't like live shows. There's not a lot of people. If you look at the viewership of a live show versus, recorded vlogs, a lot of people, and I get these messages of people going, why are you doing live shows? But I really enjoy them. And the reason I enjoy them is I get to interact with you guys. It's more about the community for me. I'm not about getting 1 million subscribers or 1 million views. I don't care about that. What I like is the fact that we've got this community going, and it's kind of cool. And I think that's good. So I'm all a fan of the live show. I watch a couple of live shows myself that I enjoy. Not in photography, but yeah, there you go. All right, well, that's it from me this week. Thanks again for being awesome and tuning in and coming and joining me for the live show. Until next time, which is a few weeks away now, probably 4 weeks before the next. I'll announce it anyway, so you can all get the announcement. Get out there and take some photos, because really, that's what it's all about. Get out there, take some photos, send them in to me. Links are in the description below. If you want to become a VIP, in the description below, you can do that by going to patreon.com/on3legs. If you want to send me images for critique, once again, links in the description down below. If you want to join me in Tassie, I think that link's down there too. Not sure. But if not, you can find Wild Nature Photo Expeditions, or just email me and I'll put you in touch with Michael. He does all the bookings. I'm just coming along for the ride. I will be in Laurieton, May 19. I'm a keynote speaker at the Northern Division Photography Conference. So if you are up that way in the mid-north coast of Australia, I'll be there doing a presentation on how to improve your landscape photography. I'm going to be flying my airplane into Port Macquarie and then doing the presentation. Then I'm going to fly my airplane up to Kempsey to see Mum and Dad. But if you're there, I'd love if you to come and say g'day, and I'd love to see you there. All right, take care, everybody. All the best. Cheerio. Now I've just got to work out how to turn the live stream off. Here we go. Take care.